Welcome back to Lakers latest, folks. I'm coming back to you from Studio City as always, California, where it is a scalding 95 degrees outside. It's about the hottest it's been all summer, at least that I can think of in LA, aside from a couple early days earlier in the summer. But it is going to be hot. It's going to be hot all week, the hottest it's been. So again, everyone just stay inside, get cool, drink some water. Make sure you're not overexerting yourself too much. Just take breaks, do whatever you need to do, because it's gonna be very, very hot the next few weeks. But yeah, let's hop right into it. Obviously, again, especially I talked about last time how we're kind of in that lull in the summer where there's just not a ton going on. Obviously we had the Luka extension. That was enormous, and that really should hopefully set the path for the rest of the Lakers offseason. But right now, for the most part, we're in that lull where we're just waiting on maybe some secondary moves, waiting on signing a couple end of the bench guys, while also Rob Pelinka is probably, obviously I can't speak on this 100%, but I'm assuming he's almost certainly going to be looking for that, excuse me, additional piece. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, I want to start today with Luka. Obviously, he just signed his extension. He's going to be here for the very long term. So I kind of just want to talk about how he's going to look this year, potential fits around him. And yeah, we'll take it from there. So, how should the Lakers build around Luka Doncic? So I think, and I've discussed this kind of ad nauseum, but you really have to surround Luka with shooters. I think that's one of the most important things. Now, obviously, this first year with LeBron James, he's not that shooter off the bat, but LeBron can do pretty much anything. So you kind of have two superstars, putting them together, they're going to do a lot. But the question is, right now, there's not a ton of shooting on this Lakers team, and that, to me, is a little concerning. Right now, you kind of look at the team, you have Reeves can shoot it. Obviously everyone can shoot it. You have Luka, but those guys that surround him, 3-and-D, catch and shoot guys. You sign Laravia, that's definitely a role that he's expected to play. He's not an elite defender by any means, but he's more than average. He should hopefully be solid, especially off the bench. You won't have to guard those elite players. But guys like Laravia, 3-and-D guys that can shoot. But yeah, it's a little concerning that they don't have many of those guys on the roster. Laravia is obviously expected to hop into that. Reeves is going to shoot a little bit on threes, but again, Reeves isn't a 3-and-D guy. He can make threes, he can handle the ball, but he's not a guy that is playing good defense 3-and-D, like one of those prototypical 3D guys. Marcus Smart really isn't that either. He's an elite defensive player. Maybe lost a tiny bit of a step, but he's not a very efficient offensive player. He never has been. He's a guy that will hit threes every now and then. He'll have a 5 to 6 3 game, and that's not his game. He's never been an elite 3-point shooter. So you look at that, on the team, it's Laravia is probably the best shooter. You have Gabe Vincent, who historically on the Heat was a 3-and-D player, but again, the Heat have that voodoo magic that just can't be replicated on any other team in the NBA. So I'm not expecting it from Vincent. Kleba at points can be, but again, you're not going to get too much from him. We talked about Swider potentially hopping in, but yeah, there's not really any very solid 3-point shooting options. Obviously, Connect is the guy that you would like to be that, but I don't know where they are with how comfortable they are with him, especially with his poor performance at Summer League. But yeah, I think you have to surround Luka with shooters, and the more elite shooters you surround him with, the better position you're going to be put in to succeed. Yeah, so let's hop to the next thing. So specific positional fits, as in that kind of I talked about it, that 3-and-D guy, right? That would be a good fit. You need knockdown shooters, but another thing that Luka has been very good at throughout his career is playing with rim running centers. So we kind of saw when he was in Dallas, he played, it was only about a season and a half with Derek Lively, but if you look at the stats of them on the court together, they played great. They were such a good combination, and I think Lively's a solid young player, but I think that's kind of the architect that you want with Luka, a rim running center who's a good rebounder, can play good defense, can score, and I think Ayton, that's not his game. You're not kind of fully expecting Ayton to be he's going to play elite defense. He's going to get a ton of rebounds. He's going to be a rim running center that, does alley-oops and stuff. You'll see him do alley-oops, but it's not his main game. So it will be interesting to see how they fit together. I think moving forward, we don't know if Aiden's going to be a big piece of this future of this team. Obviously, he's only on a 1-year deal, but it will be interesting to see how he fits with Luka. But I think the best way to really surround yourself and put Luka in the best situations to be successful are putting the best prototype basketball players around him. So that can be 3-and-D wings, shooters, guys that don't need the ball in their hand too much. Obviously, you have that with LeBron and Reeves, so there's only so much of the ball to go around. Surround him with shooters, surround him with good defensive players, athletic guys that will run out on the break. Luka can find them. There's going to be a ton over the next 3 to 5 years, or hopefully 8 years in Luka's tenure here, which hopefully is the rest of his career, where they're going to be finding, guys that fit next to him. And especially once LeBron leaves, whether that be going to another team or whether that be retiring at the end of the season, they're going to need that next sidekick next to Luka, that next star player. And there's obviously a lot of options. The Lakers don't have an insane amount to work with, but that's definitely something to keep an eye on. But I think specifically 3-and-D wings and athletic for centers, rim running centers, but just athletic players who can run, get on the break, those are kind of the guys that I think you really want to surround Luka with, where he's going to be the most successful. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, and I'll touch upon this in a second, there is still a lot more, maybe not a lot, but definitely more to happen in the offseason. So let's go to the next thing. What are insiders saying about the Lakers? Now, I took some of the snippets from an ESPN article where they kind of went in depth on the Lakers, everything that happened. But it seems, kind of what I have here is that everyone's kind of worried, thinking about what's going to happen next with the Lakers. Are they going to make any trades? How are they going to fill out the roster? But more importantly, what happens after this year? I think obviously, the goal is to contend. The goal is to contend every year. This is the Los Angeles Lakers. You want to contend for the championship every single year. You want to be rotating pieces in and out, whether that be LeBron on his way out and near the end of his career, getting another superstar. But, this is the Los Angeles Lakers, and you have to make sure that you're putting everyone in a position to succeed. So next step after this year, that's when it's going to get really interesting. Obviously, Austin Reeves is going to need to get a new deal. There's a lot of speculation on how much that deal is going to be, how many years is he going to get, what's going to be the AAV. This is a huge year for Austin Reeves. Obviously, we saw, him definitely struggle in the playoffs last year. Offensively, I think he shot 31%. He didn't really play that well. And defensively, that's we know that's not his game. We're not bringing in Austin Reeves to be a lockdown defender. There's a reason Marcus Smart came to this team. You know what I mean? But, there's a lot of speculation on just exactly what that AAV is. Some say 20, some say it could be upwards of 30. I think that's really going to depend on how Austin Reeves plays this year, how he plays, how he shows himself specifically. It's very important to see how he plays next to Luka so they can determine, is this a guy that we think could be a good positional fit next to Luka? After LeBron leaves, can he be that sidekick or third option? Or is it better for us to potentially trade Reeves and get a legit number 2 option who maybe could be a star, a potential superstar? Again, I don't know that. I'm just speculating. But these are questions that they have to be asking themselves. Because after this year, especially after, again, LeBron could stay. I'm not expecting it. I think he's either going to retire after this year or he's going to go play one more year somewhere else. They have to have a plan for what happens after LeBron leaves. And I'm sure that they know that. They know Luka just signed a 3-year deal here. And even it's a 2+1. So, they still got to do things to show him that they want to re-sign him after, which would be shocked if he didn't, because obviously he's going to have that 5-year supermax. But yeah, that's kind of what you're hearing, that we're not sure where the next move is going to be, but next year they really have to figure out Reeves. Is he a guy that could be the sidekick? What about the other guys? What about Rui? Is he a guy that needs another contract? Is he the guy that could legitimately be a third piece, or should we try and trade him for additional assets? There's a lot that is going on people are talking about. There's a lot that's going on behind the scenes of them trying to put the team together, figure out what happens. But next offseason is going to be a massive one, and I think that's kind of what you're hearing from all the NBA insiders too. There's still some things to happen in this Lakers offseason, but next offseason, with LeBron potentially leaving and Reeves needing a new contract, that's going to be a very interesting offseason to see how the Lakers handle that. So that's kind of what it seems like you're hearing around the league on the Lakers situation. Obviously, we'll see what happens, going forward. So what are the next steps? I very briefly touched on this. I think it depends on what you're talking about. Are they next steps towards next season, towards what's going to happen after LeBron leaves, what's going to happen with Reeves, or are we talking about next steps for the rest of the offseason? For the rest of the offseason, I don't. Again, we touched upon this at times. You want to go for that. I still think they're looking for that third trade partner, that next trade partner to get that last piece to solidify them. I'm not 100% sure about that. There's been whispers. They're still touching base with teams. But at this point, especially, we said yesterday Vucevic is not going to be bought out. It does not seem like there's too many people on the buyout market left that will be substantial pieces. And I think that, it'll be interesting to see if anyone else does be bought out from now to the beginning of the regular season. But at this point, I think most of the main buyouts have happened for players of significance. If Vucevic does get bought out, I don't think it will happen until the trade deadline or post-trade deadline, assuming he doesn't get traded. But yeah, those next steps are potentially solidifying it with that one final trade or trying to find those end-of-the-bench pieces. A Malcolm Brogdon. I'm not going to say Ben Simmons because the vibes are just bad no matter what. But one of those guys to kind of fill out the roster, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do, but we'll keep a very close eye on that in the coming weeks before training camp, before the preseason. But there's still a lot to be done, and Pelinka said that the other day. They're not finished. They're still looking at ways to improve the team, and that's good to hear. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. But until next time, that's it for me today. Everyone stay cool. Make sure your AC's on. You're drinking a lot of water, and I will catch you guys later. Have a good one.